breaking and entering, drunk and disorderly, law and order. A former prosecutor and a defence lawyer, not your typical pairing. And the result? Conversations about crime and punishment that are guaranteed to get you thinking.
Welcome to Justice Matters, a weekly podcast with Lizzie Green and Joe Crowley. Our episodes are available every Monday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify and YouTube. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Justice Matters Pod for clips. Enjoy the episode.
This episode contains descriptions of toxic masculinity, misogyny, rape, and other sexual offences. Listener discretion is advised. Hello, Lizzie.
Hello, Joe.
That was an interesting trigger warning I just gave.
And I bet our listeners already know who we're going to be talking about.
Well, I do because I've seen the notes, but maybe you should tell them.
So, and look, I have resisted talking about this person because I feel a lot of things about him and his beliefs, but this is Andrew Tate.
Yes.
And I know this is going to be a polarizing discussion because for whatever reason, he is a global sensation. He has a lot of fans worldwide.
Yeah. Well, I think that's why he's a global sensation because he's got a lot of fans.
Well, yes. Still, though, in light of things that we're going to talk about today, like he's
obviously saying some things which resonate with people.
And that, I think, is where the problem with toxic masculinity lies.
Right. You mean people might not agree with everything he says.
I'm pretty sure. Well, I think some people do, Joe.
I'm sure they do. Statistically speaking, there would be some people out there who agree with everything he
Yes.
says. But then, these things are on a spectrum. So people might be watching his TikToks or whatever that give him the illusion of a fan base. But like you, are watching him because they hate him.
Well, I don't watch him. I had to look at stuff for this research. And anyway, so I've got it into different headings, things we want to talk about, or I want to talk about.
Yeah.
So let's start with who is Andrew Tate.
Okay.
And part of me doesn't like giving him airtime, but why I'm doing it now is because he's facing really serious charges across 3 different jurisdictions. And I think maybe not all of his fans are fully aware of the things he's been charged with.
Okay.
And so that's why I'm giving him airtime.
And do you think Andrew Tate fans will be listening to our podcast?
Absolutely.
Okay, good. I love the positivity.
Why not?
Right.
Well, some of them might be your fans.
Wow, okay.
Well, we've had some comments.
That I'm like Andrew Tate?
No, not that you're like Andrew Tate, but, when we talked about some particular toxic masculinity episodes, we have very diverse opinions, and there were people who liked your opinions.
Okay, well, that's good.
Yes.
There you go.
All right, so Tate's full name, Emery Andrew Tate, born December 1986. He and his brother Tristan, who is also relevant to the criminal proceedings, are dual US-British citizens.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. He's named after his father, an American who worked for the US Air Force in Britain, was also a chess master.
Wow.
His mother and father met in the UK before moving to America, where Tate was raised until his parents divorced.
Mm-hmm.
Following the divorce, he moved to England with his mother.
Right.
Okay. So both Tate and his younger brother Tristan, said they experienced poverty when they lived in England.
Yeah, I've heard him tell some stories about going and getting chicken out of, bins and stuff outside of KFC and eating it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Other people's leftovers and freezing it for future meals.
Wow, okay.
Which is tough. No two ways about it. Yeah. He was a kickboxing world champion 4 times.
Yes.
I did not know that. But found his worldwide fame online.
Okay.
Bless.
Well, he made a lot of money out of kickboxing, didn't he? I mean, that's where he made his name. I'm not a kickboxing
I think that's where he made his name, but he made a lot of money from his online university.
Oh, wow. I didn't know he had an online university.
Yeah.
Should we call him Professor Tate?
Shall we not? Thanks.
Okay.
I worked hard for my title.
Right.
All right. So he has appeared in countless videos.
Okay.
TikToks, whatever, clips.
Yes.
He flaunts this ultra luxurious lifestyle, fast cars. He's got 15 properties.
Yeah.
Loves a luxury watch, apparently. He's got plenty of those.
Yeah.
Private jets and yachts.
Okay. Does he actually own all of these, or is this just a front?
No, I think he does, because we'll find out that his assets were seized and then got returned to him.
Wow. Okay.
On TikTok, videos with the hashtag Andrew Tate have been viewed billions of times.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
So we talked in an earlier episode about Belle Gibson and her views in 2012, which were big for the time, but,
90,000 or something.
90,000 likes, so we're talking stratosphere here.
Oh, billions is
Yeah.
unbelievable. It's bigger than Mr. Beast. I got a son who loves Mr. Beast, a YouTuber. You
Oh,
don't
yeah.
watch him?
I
Obviously.
don't watch him. I've heard of him.
Yeah.
I should note that figure, the billions of times, does also include people who have criticised him.
Okay,
So they're not
sure.
all his fans.
No.
So why do I have a problem with him? What has he said?
I don't think any of the
women?
listeners wonder why you have a problem with Andrew Tate, but I think you should definitely explain.
I'm going to
in
tell you
detail
some
that.
of the
Yes.
things that he has said. So in one interview, he said he was absolutely a misogynist.
Right, okay.
He said, I'm a realist, and when you're a realist, you're sexist. There's no way you can be rooted in reality and not be sexist.
Okay. Did he explain what that means? I'm not exactly following any of that, but
Well, he said in that same interview, women are intrinsically lazy.
oh my God. Okay.
There's no such thing as an independent female.
Wow, really?
Mm-hmm. And he's been singled out for the effect he's had in spreading misogyny online.
Okay.
The police became involved. Obviously, they've got criminal charges that are there. But they also talked about the fact that there has been radicalisation of young people online and that influencers like Andrew Tate are particularly influencing boys, and it's quite terrifying.
Okay. What does radicalisation mean? What does that mean?
Well, they're working with counter-terrorism teams to combat the risks of young men being radicalised.
Right. So radicalised in terms of terrorist stuff.
Yeah.
From watching Andrew Tate.
From watching Andrew Tate.
I'm guessing he's a gateway drug, as it were, to terrorism.
Other.
I mean, he's not advocating terrorism.
Not terrorism.
No, but so I take it from that people who start with Andrew Tate end up on an ISIS website.
Yes, like
talking
I
about
think.
how to make homemade bombs or something. Okay.
So, as a result, numerous social media platforms, so YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, have banned him, with the TikTok platform saying misogyny is a hateful ideology that is not tolerated.
Mm-hmm.
He was banned from Twitter for saying women should bear responsibility for being sexually assaulted.
Oh.
But when Elon Musk took over, he was allowed back on X.
Okay. Did you want me to comment on Elon Musk and how he runs X? Is that...
No.
Okay.
Maybe we'll come back to that.
Right.
In a text seen by BBC Panorama, I think that's a TV show, so they must have been doing interviews.
Yeah, that's a very long-running TV show. It's been going since at least the 70s, yeah.
Right.
It's a documentary program, yeah.
They saw a text he'd written to a woman that said, I love raping you.
Oh, for God's sake.
And in an interview with the BBC in June 2023, when pushed on whether his controversial views on women harmed young people, he said he was a force for good and that he was acting under the instruction of God to do good things.
Okay.
A bit of a contradiction there.
He's not Robinson Crusoe thinking he's a force for good and acting under the instruction of God, but saying things that are quite antisocial. I mean, that's, again, a tale as old as time, isn't it?
He's misguided is what he is. All right. But so I was looking into this because he and his brother are facing a number of legal cases.
Yes.
Which brings me joy.
Wow, okay. You engage
I think
in a
he
bit
has
of
been...
schadenfreude, do you? Enjoy...
I just heard about that this week.
Okay.
Yes.
I want to hear about Romania.
Yes. All right. Well, so let me tell you. Overall, he's got some cases in Romania, the UK, and the US.
Yes.
So the Romanian charges, where are my notes? Right here.
Sorry, can I just before we start, am I right in saying he ended up living in Romania or in one of those Eastern Bloc countries?
Oh, yes. He moved to Romania.
Yeah.
Because it was easy to get away with rape there, apparently.
Oh, wow. Did he say that?
Yeah.
Jeepers. Okay.
Oh, he said so much, Joe.
Yeah, he's obviously not working with the Romanian Tourist Board. Yep.
No, he's not. All right. So, and actually he became very famous as well because he went on Big Brother in the UK in 2016 and he got kicked out after there was a video of him hitting a woman with a belt in the
Ooh.
house. And then a second video emerged after that in which he was shown telling a woman to count the bruises that he had apparently caused to her.
Oh.
But then,
Sorry, are these other contestants on the...
yeah, but
Wow.
then both he and the woman denied any abuse occurred and that the clips were showing consensual sex.
Okay, well, there you go.
I know, but that was one of the triggers of his rise to notoriety.
Oh, in 2016. I see. And so when you say he was kicked out, you mean he was voted out by the other people, or
No,
the
they
producers
took him
actually
out.
said, right, you're out?
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
All right, so the charges in Romania centre around claims of rape, people trafficking and organised crime.
Jeepers.
He and his brother were charged in June 2023 after being arrested in December 2022.
Okay.
They are accused of tricking 7 women into sexual exploitation on fake promises of a relationship or marriage, a technique authorities label the lover boy method. And it's alleged that they and another 2 women formed a group in 2021 to commit human trafficking in Romania and other countries, including the US and the UK. He's also charged with the rape of one of the victims of that trafficking,
Okay.
while his brother has been charged with instigating others to violence.
Instigating other men to violence
Other
against
people,
women. Right.
yeah.
Okay.
Prosecutors allege that Andrew Tate raped at least one of them repeatedly and coerced the women through threats of violence and financial ruin.
Yeah, okay. It's
So
all unpleasant. Yep.
they're the charges in Romania.
Yep.
They were told in March 2023 not to leave the country after having been on house arrest for a number of months.
Yes.
He was put back under house arrest in August 2024 following a fresh investigation and following a raid on his house. In this second case, Romania's anti-organised crime agency said it was investigating allegations of human trafficking, including the trafficking of minors, sexual intercourse with a minor, forming an organised criminal group, money laundering and influencing statements.
Influencing statements.
Yeah, I don't know what that
Odd
is.
charge, yeah.
A second indictment was filed that mentioned 35 alleged victims of trafficking, including one who was 15 at the time. He made a furious statement to the press outside his house denouncing the case against him as a stitch-up and lies.
Okay.
He said, "This is a setup. It is absolutely disgusting. 30 of those girls say we have done nothing wrong. 2 are the mothers of our children.
Wow.
2 have never even been here to Romania."
Wow.
Asked repeatedly by the BBC about allegations of sex with the 15-year-old girl and trafficking underage persons, he walked away and refused to reply.
Okay.
All right.
He might have done that on the advice of his lawyers.
Yeah, maybe. He has said on X, Twitter, that the case against him is some kind of mainstream conspiracy to silence him.
Okay.
That's what he believes.
Sure.
So house arrest in Romania was again lifted in January of this year.
Yeah, why? This is what I'm interested in. Why are they lifting it if
Yeah.
they've got such a strong case against him?
Well, I don't know. So they're still facing the Romanian charges, and they were told that they shouldn't leave, but then they were allowed to leave. So it's a bit contradictory.
And a bit odd. Yep.
So that they're what is called being under judicial control, which is a lighter preventative measure in the Romanian system.
Sure. Like bail
He's
or
required to check in at regular intervals,
Yeah.
not allowed to contact other suspects or
Yeah.
witnesses, and could not leave Romania, but he did.
something. But he does.
So they had seized 15 buildings and areas of land, 15 luxury cars and 14 luxury watches belonging to them originally in Romania.
Yeah.
And then in January 2024, a court overturned that decision and ordered that all of the assets be returned to them. So
it
that's
sounds like there's some indications that there's some problems with the charges in Romania.
for the authorities. I don't know.
Oh, you're not besmirching the Romanian authorities, are you?
Well, why would he be on house arrest and then be allowed to leave? It's not like he can slip out unobtrusively.
No, well, I don't know is the answer, but what I take from that is that the case isn't as strong as the media are reporting it, and so that when he makes, I don't know, an application to have house arrest lifted, when a court looks at it, they go, yeah, okay,
Maybe. I mean, he has said he'll go back and face those charges. Yeah. All right. In the UK,
Yep.
we've got some charges. So March 2024, UK authorities said that their investigation against the Tates involves allegations of rape and human trafficking again,
Okay, interesting.
dating back to 2012 and 2015.
Oh,
They were also served with civil proceedings in 2024 on behalf of 4 British women who accused them of rape and assault.
interesting.
3 of them were the subject of an investigation by Hertfordshire Constabulary. I think about the rape allegations, and that was closed in 2019. So now it's a civil suit.
Yeah, so, sorry, the reason I sort of explain why I said that was interesting because they're bringing a civil suit for rape, which you can, it's a tort, so you can sue and get money in damages. But that said to me that the police had decided not to proceed with the criminal case.
I think that's the case.
I mean, it's a lower standard, it's a higher standard of proof, in criminal cases, and police might have just felt that it didn't meet that standard.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's interesting. Okay.
So an article in September 24 that I read reported 2 British women not involved with the Romanian case against the Tate brothers have given detailed first-hand accounts of alleged rape and sexual violence by him.
Yes.
The allegations date back 10 years to when he was living with his mother in Luton in England. That's where he moved after the divorce.
Right. So he's married. He's got children.
No. After his mum and dad's divorce.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Another British woman has made a new allegation against his brother, and she said she went out with Andrew Tate. After a few dates, she went back to his house. He started kissing me. He just looked up at the ceiling and said, "I'm just debating whether I should rape you or not." And then out of the blue, he grabbed her by the throat, smashed her to the back of the head and strangled her extremely hard.
Wow.
And then she said he raped her.
Okay.
After the attack, he sent her disturbing text messages and voice notes about rape and sexual violence. They said...
does this all come to light through a criminal case against him?
No, this is in the media.
Right. Okay.
They said, "Am I a bad person? Because the more you didn't like it, the more I enjoyed it." He wrote in a text, "I love raping you and watching you let me while still debating if it's a good idea or not. I like the conflict you have, and you do have it. Don't deny it."
Wow. Let me just say I'm very glad we gave a trigger warning before this episode because this is pretty full-on stuff.
Yeah, it is. And this is what young boys and young men are consuming.
Sorry, stop. That is a text message that has come out in the media. That's not something that's been on one of his TikToks, as I take it.
No, but I Google Andrew Tate.
Yes.
And this is the kind of thing that comes up, Joe.
What do you mean? People commenting like this?
These articles and reports. Like, it does not take much to have all of this information at your fingertips. So if there are young boys or young men or anyone who are interested or curious or admiring of Andrew Tate and they're looking stuff up, they're going to come across this stuff.
Yeah, they might be turned off Andrew Tate after reading that.
But I think the evidence is that...
The evidence is that he's popular and he's got a big following on TikTok or whatever.
And people defend him and that he has influenced actions and behaviours of young boys. Like, there is research on that, particularly in a school context.
Yeah, sorry, you did say there's research. I'm always interested about some research.
So there is a direct correlation between attitudes of young boys and young men and what they consume through things like Andrew Tate's platform.
That's several steps away from that kind of attitude that you've just read out there.
It is, but my point is that if they are already enamoured by him and thinking he's this amazing, rich, successful person that they want to emulate, and then they're seeing this kind of thing.
Yes.
Haven't you seen those ads on TV at the moment where it's a dad and his son and they're walking along and he's the kid's watching his phone and it's like a dark room and it says women are, it's something derogatory about women.
Right.
And he's got a puzzled look on his face and the dad's like, "You right? You okay?" And he's like, "Yeah, no, I'm good," and puts his phone in his pocket.
Right.
And it says, "What are your kids watching online?" So this is the problem we have, that it is unfiltered access to all of this stuff for our kids. And we don't know what they're seeing. So how are we counteracting the messages that they've been given? And then they start to believe that that's, that men are strong and women are weak and they have to be treated a certain way. And it's a huge step then to rape someone.
Sure.
But this is
yeah,
where
yeah.
there is links.
Well, look, let me say this. I think that Andrew Tate obviously has misogynist views. So misogynist, as I understand it, is somebody who hates women. And he seems to, based on that kind of stuff you say, have some very problematic views in terms of his attitudes toward women. Totally accept that. I don't think anyone could deny it. That in some version of that is promulgated through what he does. Exactly how much, I don't know. You say, well, people can find the article that you're referring to online easily, but yeah, I mean that it assumes that the reader is just going to love everything that Andrew Tate does, as opposed to somebody thinking, he's a 4 times world champion kickboxer, he's really rich, geez, this guy's really interesting, and then they look for something and go, oh my God, these are all a bit problematic.
And look, I would hope that is the majority of opinions, but we can't ignore the fact, and I know you're going to roll your eyes probably, but our rates of sexual offending, domestic violence, murder of women, they're not decreasing, Joe. And so we have to look broadly. Where is this disconnect where women are being treated in a way that
You're blaming Andrew Tate for those statistics in Australia.
I'm saying that Andrew Tate and others who perpetrate those kinds of views and opinions, yes, they have some responsibility, because our youth are so fixated on online, social media, internet, all of those things.
Yeah.
And there's no way that this is not getting through to some of them. And so...
Oh, yeah, sure, it's getting through to some of them, obviously, yeah. So the other thing I was going to say, and I'm totally not an expert in any of this, but I'd love to see some research on it. I suspect that people's attitudes to the opposite sex is more informed by their day-to-day experience of that sex than it is by their looking online at what Andrew Tate says.
And maybe there's some examples of that. But I think if we look back at some of the most upsetting or shocking incidents of misogyny and toxic masculinity that have hit the media in recent times, so things like the deep fake scandals at schools, the list of...
You're going to have to... So this is when they get a photo of a schoolgirl and they superimpose it onto a naked woman's body, and then they show that around.
That's right.
Yep. Okay, yep, I understand that.
So that kind of deep fake scenario, that, remember we talked about the list of things that the boys at the private school had to do.
Oh, I do recall that episode, yes.
Yes. Like a lot of this is coming from all boys schools. Like if you look at the statistics, Joe.
Okay. So if you're blaming the statistics of domestic violence on all boys schools, that's not statistically valid. I mean, the majority of males who are educated in this country are not at all boys schools.
Joe, you just said that people are getting most of their...
No, I said thought. I'm just postulating that.
From their everyday interactions. What about this huge group of single-sex educated youth who don't have everyday interactions with the opposite sex?
They've got mothers, they've got sisters, they've got people on the train, they've got female teachers.
What if they're... And the female teachers we're going to see are actually leaving the profession because of the way that they are being treated.
Okay, at some all-boys schools.
Well, at all schools, not just all boys schools. Like I'm not maligning, I went to a single-sex school. I'm not maligning single-sex education, but I'm also saying they're not, there is a pattern there that there is, Joe.
I don't think that. So, and even if I accept that there is a pattern amongst all boys private schools, I mean, how you can then extrapolate that out to the national incidence of domestic violence? I mean, I just don't think that statistically works. There's just not enough boys at all boys private schools.
I'm not saying it's only private all boys schools who are perpetrating it.
Right.
Absolutely not. I'm talking about your point that perhaps this doesn't have an impact on them because they have interactions with girls in their everyday life. And I'm saying there is a little bit of evidence that shows that the types of misogynistic conduct that we see in private boys' schools could very well be more informed by what they're seeing online because they may not have those same interactions or less interactions, or they view girls differently, or it's that group mentality, whatever it might be. And this is the type of group or this is the type of demographic that Andrew Tate's content seems to land on.
Well, it certainly lands on a demographic, and I don't dispute that it has some impact. It certainly does, and I don't think that impact is positive. I totally agree that impact is negative. Exactly the extent of that impact and what the result of it is, I'm not sure. And you do have to weigh that up with questions of freedom of speech and freedom to express views that are, not mainstream. I mean, I'm not sure.
Let me tell you some more of the things he said. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, sorry, because let me just say this. I suspect if Andrew Tate went on, I mean, he's already been banned from all of these social media sites anyway.
But his followers are constantly sharing his content on his behalf.
Yeah. Okay.
So he's still a presence.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I mean, I suspect it would be an offence for him to personally get up and say some of this stuff. So
Possibly.
You're reporting stuff that has been put in articles that are taken from his private text messages. I appreciate that.
Well, so this
horrible,
is other stuff.
But I think it would be an offence if he said that kind of stuff himself.
I think he had a podcast
where he said this kind of stuff.
So he has suggested, and this was not in a text, he has suggested rape victims bear some responsibility for being attacked. Women belong in the home. Women are the property of men. When asked how he would react to a woman accusing him of cheating, or maybe it was cheating on him, he said it's bang out the machete, boom in her face, and grip her by the neck. Shut up, bitch. That was just publicly available information he thought he would share.
Yeah.
He preached a message aimed at boys and young men that women should be dominated. In a video, he explained that probably 40% of the reason he moved to Romania was because it would be easier to evade rape charges. He said, I'm not a rapist, but I like the idea of just being able to do what I want. I like being free.
Okay.
He has denied holding misogynistic views and accused his critics of twisting facts, although he has also described himself as the king of toxic masculinity.
Okay.
He poses with fast cars, guns, portrays himself as a cigar-smoking playboy. He talks about hitting and choking women, trashing their belongings and stopping them from going out. His views have been described as extreme misogyny by domestic abuse experts, capable of radicalising men and boys to commit harm offline.
Okay.
So
I mean, that's probably self-evident. I mean, it's capable of it, sure, and maybe it does radicalise some of them. But
on Facebook in 2018, he bemoaned the decline of Western civilization after seeing a poster at Heathrow Airport encouraging girls to go on holiday, as opposed to encouraging being a loving mother and a loyal wife. The quote was, I expect absolute loyalty from my woman. I ain't having my chicks talking to other dudes, liking other dudes. My chicks don't go to the club without me. They are at home.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. He is not in a he's not in a loving, monogamous relationship, is he?
I don't care if he is or not. I think.
He's I don't know which women he's attracting. I mean, I'm not sure. You say he's talking to the men. Sounds like he talks a big game. Whether he's not impressing any women with any of that talk. I wouldn't have thought.
No, I know, and I'm not. That's not my concern. I'm not afraid that women will fall for his charms, but I am concerned for the impact that his content has. And I think it's been going on for so long, and he gets banned from all of these things, but still his content is shared. And Joe, I think so much about how we're going to tackle the issue of domestic violence. And I don't want anyone to go away from this episode thinking I'm holding Andrew Tate responsible for that, or I'm holding private school boys responsible. That is not what I'm saying. This is a global issue, but in Australia in particular, we have got so much domestic violence. Like, you read the stats on reports, on breaches, on deaths, on strangulation, everything increases year by year. And so I spend my time thinking, how can we tackle this? And this has got to be part of it.
Sorry, when you say this has got to be part of it, what do you mean?
So how do we tackle domestic violence as an issue and violence against women, and dealing with these kinds of platforms that share this kind of content that is, whether you like it or not, impacting young boys, young men, older men.
Yeah, but so what are you proposing? He's already been banned from all these websites and people share his stuff. You say, okay, all right. So what are you
Well,
proposing?
so I don't have a solution. Like, we can't control the internet. And so my solution is, let me tell you how disgusting he is. Let me tell you about the charges he's facing.
Let's encourage our kids to be critical thinkers of what they're looking at when they find stuff online. Absolutely.
Well, hopefully try and protect them in the first place. But
how
I
do we
find
do
that to
that?
be impossible.
Yeah, that's the problem.
I know. So, like, I do feel myself getting very passionate about this. And I mean, I'm not naive. I've got 4 kids, 2 girls, 2 boys. I know that there are things they've seen on the internet that I don't know. And I'm an involved, possibly somewhat controlling internet parent.
You've heard it here, people. Controlling.
Yeah, heard it here.
Yep.
But you know, I know that they will have seen things. And so I have made it a point in my house to talk openly about stuff that I think they need to be cognizant of.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I also know that my children are not perfect, but I have the utmost faith that my boys treat girls with respect, that they are aware of the difference, that my girls know what is okay in terms of acceptable treatment and behaviour. And I think that's all I can do. But I have inside knowledge. I read all of this stuff. I research in this area, and not all parents have that privilege.
No, sure. I mean, the kinds of stuff you're describing and what you're doing at home as being as a parent, I mean, you probably be doing that anyway, wouldn't you? Do you think that's informed because you do all of this work in this area?
Well, I think I'm probably very conscious of the dangers and the depths of the dangers. And I draw these connections, you know, like it might be fairly normal for parents to say, don't go on the internet, don't look at these sites or whatever. But then for me to draw that connection.
Would be just encouraging people to actually look at the sites.
Whatever, you know what I mean?
Yes,
like control.
Yes.
But then I think I have then, it's like when I used to say to my kids, they couldn't go on sleepovers if I didn't know the family, you know?
Yeah.
And so I would say no, but then I would explain why, you know?
Yeah,
and I think it's the same with this. You know, I say there are controls over internet or social media or whatever, and then I explain why. And I think that connection, you know, a lot of people would make that connection. I'm not doubting that. But it's something I have really emphasized, I think, because of my research into this area, you know? So
I mean, one of the problems that I find working in criminal law and seeing all this stuff is you actually lose sight of the fact of how often it happens. So you're only seeing the criminals, you know, the relationships that fail. You're not seeing that's not in context. You're not seeing all the relationships that are successful. You're not seeing that all the dates that go well. You're not seeing all the nights out that are fine. You're only seeing the ones that have got to the stage of being, you know, criminal in nature.
Yeah.
And so that, I mean, I feel a bit like that too when I've got daughters who are going out, sons who are going out, and I think of all of these horrible cases that I've read and things that have happened to people. But then I try to remind myself, well, you know, I've got a particular biased view because that's all I see. I don't know, you know, and statistically speaking, if you've got whatever 27 million people in this country, you know, 99% of the nights out that people are having are absolutely fine.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm not saying that I mean, I think the way you're approaching is really sensible, but I do think we as criminal lawyers need to understand we just see the worst of the worst all the time.
I think it's a bit like the one punch can kill campaign. I'm terrified of nights out in Surface because of the cases.
Yeah, that's right.
Not me going out. I don't go out in Surface.
Stop it.
All right. So the 2 brothers have denied all of the UK allegations.
And then there's US.
US.
Here we go.
So Florida has launched the latest criminal investigation into the Tates, with the state's Attorney General saying just on the 5th of March of this year, its work was active into holding a preliminary inquiry. Tate has said US authorities are trying to find crimes on an innocent man. So there's been a recent lawsuit that has accused both the brothers of conspiring to coerce a woman into sex work, luring her to Romania and defaming her after her testimony to Romanian authorities.
Oh, okay.
When they arrived in the US recently via private jet, must be nice, Andrew Tate said, "My brother and I are largely misunderstood. There's a lot of opinions about us that go around on the internet. we've yet to be convicted of any crime in our lives ever. We have no criminal record anywhere on the planet.
Mm.
Oh, yay for you. All right. So the US lawyer said the Tate brothers feel secure in America for several reasons, but the main reason is that Trump is president.
Oh, okay.
As a result, they are excited to call America their home again. That's
Okay.
their
Heading down to Mar-a-Lago, are they?
Mm.
Interesting.
The lawyer said they do plan to return to Romania at the end of March to meet with prosecutors, and they will then come back to the US. When they arrived in Florida last week, Republican Governor Ron DeSantis said the brothers were not welcome in the state.
Interesting.
Florida is not a place where you're welcome with that type of conduct. I don't know how it came to this. We were not involved. We were not notified. And he has called for the Attorney General to examine whether state authorities have any jurisdiction over any of their alleged crimes to progress them.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a bit full on. I mean, so just to explain that, usually you don't have jurisdiction over crimes that don't occur within your state. There's some exceptions to that in Australia, certainly, and presumably they're looking for some in Florida so that they could try them for things that they've done out of the state.
And get them locked up, presumably.
Sounds a bit odd.
So days before the Tates were allowed to leave Romania to travel to the US, reports surfaced that the Trump administration had been heavily pushing for the travel restrictions to be lifted. Trump has denied any involvement in the lifting of the travel ban, but Sky News, I don't know how reputable they are, I'm not sure.
I don't watch
They
them, yeah.
said that analysis of links on social media showed deepening ties between Tate and several people close to the US president.
Okay.
And in January 2025, speaking to media outside a courthouse in Romania, Tate said, Donald Trump is the future of the Western world and everybody knows it and everybody needs to get in line and obey him. He runs the world. He's a good friend of mine and I am going to help him.
Wow. Okay.
Good luck, Trump, with a friend like that.
He certainly has this idea of it's all about power and authority and who's in charge. And interesting. There's a real theme in what he talks about.
So, I've talked about why he's so problematic. How does his message spread so fast? So there have been a couple of experiments done. One was by The Observer, which I think is UK.
UK, yeah.
And so they looked at Twitter, I think. TikTok. And so they set up an account for an imaginary teenager using a fake name and a fake date of birth. And at first, the account was showing a mixture of material, including comedy clips, dog videos, discussions about men's mental health. That's what came up on a 13-year-old's
Interesting.
For
Okay.
you feed.
So this is what the algorithm's throwing up. Yep. Okay.
After watching videos aimed at male users, including a clip from the Alpha Blokes podcast and a clip of a TikToker discussing how men don't talk about their feelings, the algorithm began suggesting more content that appeared to be tailored for men. Without liking or searching for any content proactively, the suggestions included videos of Andrew Tate, including one from a copycat account using his name and picture captioned "The Harsh Reality of Men," which appeared to blame feminism for making men miserable, adding that the majority of men have no money, no power, no sex from their wife.
Okay. I mean,
I'm not saying Andrew Tate wrote that, but
no, I know, but I mean, I'm saying they're just describing how an algorithm works. I mean, there's nothing nefarious in this. I mean,
no,
you
but
look
so
at,
it started with men's health.
Yeah, and you watch those clips and it records that you've watched them.
On men's health.
Sure, on men's health, and then it goes, well, you might like some other topics on
but
men.
they don't like.
No, but you don't have to like it. You just have to watch it.
But
and
that's
then
a huge leap from men's health to misogyny.
Well, presumably it gave a smorgasbord of other men's interests, one of them being at one end of the spectrum, Andrew Tate stuff.
But it's pushing.
When
So
you say
the
it's pushing,
next
how
time
do
the
we know
account
that?
was opened, the first 4 posts were by Tate from different accounts. That's how we know.
Sorry, you know that, then stop it and then open the next one. It might be all, men's fishing videos. I mean, I don't know how
No.
I don't know how
What
this.
do you mean?
Well, it obviously tests out what it goes, you like that, you might like this. But if you don't, then watch it. The next time you're getting men's fishing videos or something, just because it throws up something.
I know,
you might
but
say, well,
when
it shouldn't
you
be throwing
say
up this
watch
extreme
it,
stuff
like,
first.
As far as I know with TikTok, something comes up and if it's on your feed, Like, I don't even think you have to watch the whole thing for it to count as a view.
No, sure. It'll
and
have
so
some.
you've seen 2 of them. So then the next time you plied with more. Like, it's the algorithm is sending, like, I think to go from Men's Health to Andrew Tate.
Okay, but again, see, we're not looking at this in context. What else was there besides Andrew Tate? You know, I
But-
mean, presumably
but there was other things, but they were pushing this as the first 4 videos.
Yeah, in the next time they open and maybe that's the problem. They go to extreme men's stuff.
All right, so the
straight up.
algorithm also suggested videos from someone called Dr. Jordan Peterson, a Canadian
What do you mean?
psychologist.
Someone from? Have you never heard of Jordan Peterson?
No.
Oh my Lord! I thought you'd love it.
He's a psychologist known
I know
for
exactly
his
who he is.
right-wing
Everyone knows.
views.
He's written 2 New York Times best-selling books.
Oh, I haven't read them.
Okay, well, 12 Rules for Life or something is one you should read.
Sorry, Dr. Peterson, haven't heard of you.
I think he's a professor.
The Tate content was by far the most widespread. When opening the app again a week later, so a week had gone by.
What? But had he looked at it at all? I mean, that doesn't mean anything. Just
He hasn't liked them.
You don't need to like them. You just need to watch them.
But if they're up on your For You page, they count as being watched, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
The account was again flooded with Tate content, 8 out of the first 20 videos being of Tate.
Okay. Look, I suspect...
The clips included a video where he says his girlfriend is very well trained. He says people seeking mental health support are useless. He says if you're the kind of person who feels like you need therapy, you need someone to talk to. Do you know what you are? You're useless.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's Andrew Tate content. What are you expecting? You know, he's not...
I know, but, he started the online university, which was about making money, getting power, and so people would pay.
I think this is hilarious that he started an online university.
People would pay
to do what?
To get his course.
But what was the course? Was it just one course? It was just
I don't know what it was, but anyway, it was this online university, and he made like millions of dollars through that.
Okay.
And then through that, I think as well, his platform spread and his notoriety and his.
Okay. Look, I don't know if you do this. I do this in my feed. It throws up, like I'll watch a video and I'm, oh, that's interesting. Like, for example, I watched one once about some BMX mountain bike rider going down some mountain bike trail and doing these jumps and, oh, that's really interesting. Suddenly got tons of them, and I got they were sort of interesting, but I had got so many. I was like, I'm so sick of this. So I just scroll through them so that they stop coming, and they just stop coming after a while.
I know. I don't know.
Scroll.
My husband doesn't have his own social media.
He just watches yours.
He watches mine. So my TikTok feed has a lot of camping, fall drives.
Fantastic.
So I'm like,
it's fantastic.
David, where are my puppy videos?
Yeah, that's right. I want to see the cat videos.
All right. So there has been a bit of research and expert opinion on my favourite words for you, on the impact he's had on men and boys.
Oh, okay. Here we go.
So a journalist from the UK wrote an article in January 2024 about the impact of Tate. He was 23 at the time he wrote this, so he fell squarely within Tate's demographic.
This is the journalist.
The journalist.
Right.
And the article claimed in the headline to know why Tate appeals to young men.
Of course, because young people always know the answer to everything.
Everything.
Yes. Yeah.
So Freddie Feltham sat down with a 19-year-old Andrew Tate mega fan, self-confessed mega fan.
Right.
Ennis, I think his name is. He is a Tate success story.
Oh.
He himself has hundreds of thousands of followers on TikTok and a pay-for-subscription home boxing course.
Oh.
It's a business strategy remarkably similar to that of Andrew Tate.
Okay, there you go.
And he sells, so Andrew Tate sells fans a £40 monthly service on how to get rich online called The Real World. And for 6,000, it must be euro, no, pound, you can enter Tate's members club, The War Room.
Wow.
Once you're a subscriber to The Real World, Ennis, this guy that the journalist was interviewing, explained that Tate had taught him discipline and diligence. Instead of finding trouble on the streets, he'd learned to make money online.
Well, there you go.
Becoming financially successful made you a high-value male. Anything less is failure, according to Tate.
Okay. Well,
so
I
that's
mean,
the Tate. I know. That's the Tate playbook.
Negative.
Bravado, machismo. Is that how you say that word?
I think so.
Wealth. It's brought him millions of followers.
And millions of dollars.
Millions of pounds, yes. Not once in that chat did Ennis mention Tate's misogyny and exhortations that real men drive fast cars and treat women as property. In fact, of the many Tate fans this journalist spoke to, none has said they follow him because they love what he has to say about women, like you said.
There you go.
YouGov data reveals that of the 12% of men who like Tate in the UK, only half say they share his views on women. So that's
What is that? 12% of the entire population of males in the UK like
have
Andrew
said
Tate,
they like him,
right?
and
then only 6%
half of those. No,
say
half
they.
of 6%.
Right. Okay.
All right. So he says this is the issue that he wanted to explore. Men, many of them young and impressionable, insist that his deliberate courting of controversy is not what attracts or affects them or has any effect on their views.
Yeah.
But in the same interview, this guy Ennis, who said he didn't agree with that, looked directly at the camera and chuckled and said, "You women out there, you like a man who's controlling and you know that," which is exactly the kind of thing Andrew Tate says.
Right,
so he's professing not to agree and then spouting similar kinds of sentiment.
Sure.
So is it subliminal?
Was he saying it ironically? I don't know.
I don't think
Maybe
so.
he was saying it to be shocking and get more people who want to do his boxing course.
It didn't seem to be. It didn't seem to be.
Okay.
I don't know, Joe. I feel like he tells young boys and men that reclaiming their rightful place atop the social order will restore stability and prosperity, and that it has to be a patriarchy-driven ideological approach.
Okay.
Like that doesn't sound like it's not a rape proclamation or anything like that, but it is that undermining everything we're trying to push about male dominance, you know?
Sure, it does sound like it's out of step with current social values, but it obviously has some traction. But I mean, it sounds to me like, you know, he gets a lot of traction from the fact that he has this online course and gives business advice.
Yeah, he does. Like he's got the financial advice aspect.
From his online
university.
But then I can't say without laughing. Sorry, online university. Yep.
All right. The other thing was research by Monash University has documented the appalling behaviour that young boys influenced by Tate's content have directed at their female teachers. So this has been an emerging issue in recent years. In mid-2023, they interviewed 30 female teachers around the country, found they had experienced a sharp increase in sexism, misogyny and sexual harassment, as well as the explicit influence of Tate on their students' attitudes and behaviours. Some boys set images of Tate as the desktop backgrounds on their computers or mimicked a hand gesture Tate often makes when being photographed. Others, according to similar research, physically intimidated their teachers, described gender inequality issues as myths, or made remarks like, "Miss, your boobs look really big today."
Okay, sorry, but are they attributing all of that to Andrew Tate?
Well, that type of content. So Tate and other, maybe your doctor friend.
Well, he's spoken out against Andrew Tate, but yeah.
Oh.
Certainly, he's somebody that he's not liked by, let's say, the left-leaning members of the media.
One of the teachers said she noticed boys talking more about Andrew Tate in class in 2022.
1 out of 30.
I'm just giving you an example.
Yeah.
It was much more prevalent when she started teaching media studies to 15 and 16-year-olds in 2023. One of them was speaking openly about how much they love Andrew Tate. And I said, look, I don't want to hear that name in the class. And that was enough for them to sort of turn on her.
Yeah, no, surprise, surprise. They found something that annoyed her, so they kept doing it. I mean, that's just what school students do.
I know, but I think that's indicative of the fact that it is these younger boys who are familiar with and...
Okay, can I just say, at my school, we gave all teachers, male or female, you know, if we didn't like them, you know, plenty of reason not to enjoy their job.
I know.
And you know, and so you don't like a teacher, you find something that annoys them and you keep doing it. I mean, that's just standard practice.
Okay, but I think the point of that, Joe, is that these boys are familiar with and admiring of Andrew Tate. This is the reach is out there. I'm just telling you that.
Okay, it doesn't sound... In a media class, a male who gets a lot of media traction is mentioned by the male students. Wow, that's groundbreaking research.
All right, Tim Minchin, are you familiar with him?
Yes,
comedian.
I'm not a fan. Yes,
he had a clip from 2024 that said, "If you're a boy, if you're a straight white bloke in contemporary America, you are not seeing a lot of positive messages about how great straight white blokes are. There's not a lot of stuff for you about pride that makes you feel good. there's a lot of stuff about how terrible you are. This is about.
Yeah. I did see him say this. I did agree.
So you're just going to run into the arms of someone who lets you feel pride, like every population on earth forever. You take away pride from people, it's bad. It doesn't matter whether you agree with me or not about the messaging we're sending these boys. Watch them drift towards Andrew Tate.
Okay, well, there you go. It sounds he sounds like he's provided some reason for Andrew Tate's popularity.
Yes, and he's saying we need to reconsider the messages we're sending. But also what we take from that is that he's saying these disillusioned people who are looking for something to believe in are going
surprise, disillusioned people gravitate to extreme views. Wow, again. I mean, this is just, again,
I don't know what your point is with that though, Joe. It's that doesn't make it okay that it's something that has happened forever and we're just going to let it keep happening like what?
I suppose what I mean by it, it's just as matter. It's just the human condition. People who are disenfranchised.
So I think we need to really
look
be
for extreme views.
pushing.
So what we need to make sure these people aren't disenfranchised. That's exactly what we're doing, and that's what I think what Tim mentioned.
And shutting down stuff like Andrew Tate.
I go back to this. I said I invited you to say that before when I said what should we do about it, and I just think
I don't know what we do about it.
Do you know what you do if you shut down Andrew Tate? You make him a martyr, and then he becomes bigger than you can possibly.
Let's just get him convicted of charges and put him into prison.
Well, here's an idea. Let's let the criminal justice system in various countries work and hopefully do what they're supposed to do, which is make sure that people are convicted on, reliable, admissible evidence that meets the standard of proof.
I think with this, there's no smoke without fire. I don't know. I had really held back from looking at exactly what Andrew Tate said. I knew that he'd said horrible things. But,
they're so horrible.
But
I didn't know any
reading
of that.
all of that stuff just made me feel so sad that there is a platform for that kind of voice. That's where I think I'm stuck. That is.
We should only hear things that we agree with. Is that what you think?
Well, I think that's a vast chasm between what Andrew Tate's saying and only things we believe in, Joe. It doesn't have to be so extreme.
Okay. No, yeah, you're right. Take your point.
Thank you.
So he says what is unsavory, very unsavory stuff. Having said that, the worst stuff he says seems to come in private text messages.
No, it doesn't. It's on open forums. The text messages about the rape, yes, that was voice memos and texts to the woman.
Yes.
But there's a lot he said about how he would treat women and how they should be responsible for their own rapes and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I agree. And all that stuff is
all public.
Abhorrent as well. Yeah, absolutely. Exactly what to do about it, though. It's a tough question.
Awareness and education.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Awareness and education. And I said that, I think, in our episode on consent laws.
I know.
The answer is education.
You hear stuff like that at a time when we are actively working towards affirmative consent and all of that sort of thing, and that undermines it all so much. And I just think this is why we are going in a circle with not making progress,
Well, I don't necessarily agree with that, and I don't know we can blame it all on Andrew Tate.
I'm not blaming it all. I'm just saying he has a share of the blame.
Okay, maybe I should do an episode on Jordan Peterson.
Maybe you should. I don't know anything about him. Sorry, Jordan Peterson.
Okay, well, he's got an online university.
Oh, excellent.
It actually does academic stuff, but yeah.
Oh, maybe that should be our next project.
Yeah.
An online university.
Yeah, I reckon that'd be good.
All right. Look, we made it through.
Yes,
I
thank
did get
you.
a
What
bit
an interesting. Again, not an entirely criminal law topic. We're sort of.
Oh, they are charges in there.
Yeah, that's right. There was a bit of charges.
That's what
criminal law adjacent.
Prompted my renewed interest.
Yeah.
I want to see him progress through the justice system, shall we say?
Spoken like a true prosecutor. Fantastically researched as always. Thank you very much, Lizzie.
Thanks, Joe.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the episode. If you enjoyed it, please rate and review or like and subscribe. It all helps Lizzie and I keep this podcast going. If you're interested in clips, you can look at them on Instagram and TikTok. Just search for Justice Matters Pod. See you next episode.